James Harden still closing in on a possible 50-point game. He's at 48. Look at this possession. You don't want to foul him.
I'm not sure he can be worn down.
Ugh.
He makes that play look so easy. Right there, James Harden making another big defensive play. Took a big charge earlier in the night. That tip there starts the whole process. PJ finishes it off.
Right through Kuzma's hands, out of bounds. And so it's 134-132. Houston's going to get the ball back and presumably try to get it to Harden, who will have a chance to get to 50 for the third straight game. Rockets spent most of the night trailing. In fact, never led in regulation. It's remarkable. They got to overtime, trailed by as many as 21 along the way. Harden, as I mentioned, has 48 on 30 shots. He's 12 of 15 from the free throw line. 6 assists, 8 points.
And Brandon Ingram, 9 of their 12 in overtime.
Yeah.
Really starting to find his aggressiveness and starting to believe a little bit more in himself, I think.
I have never heard two guys root harder for a second overtime. Harder than you two right now, hoping that Harden can get the ball one more time.
I've fallen completely for this whole 50-point thing.
Yeah.
I told you earlier in the night.
You did. You said
he's going to get there.
You called it. When it looked like there was no chance, he predicted that we were going to wind up in overtime.
Why? Because James Harden. That's why.
Exactly. So, and they just got it in, and I didn't.
Eric
He may not be going to the line. Eric Gordon's going to
not be going to the line.
So he may not get to 50. We'll see.
It's an outrage, Czar.
Here's what happened a moment ago. That's the foul on Eric Gordon. Now, still 10.7 to go, and L.A., regardless of what happens at the free throw line, L.A., who is out of timeouts, is going to want to get a shot up quickly, obviously. So there's still a chance that Harden gets the ball back in his hands and gets to the free throw line for 50.
Or Harden could go up and foul the other player right away, potentially.
A Ricky Davis moment. Doctoring up the triple-double,
stop the
doctoring
clock.
up the 50-pointer.
That would be great. Gordon hit the first. And Eric Gordon, remember, missed 8 games, that knee injury. And he now has 28 points and gave the Rockets a 4-point lead. Lakers come back the other end, get a layup with 4.9 to go. You're going to see. And guess what?
I think we may have a Jamal Murray 48-point moment.
Yeah, it was Gordon again who got fouled. You didn't see on the back end of that, so I don't think James Harden is going to get that 50.
Heartbreaking.
I'm reluctant to say it.
Heartbreaking, Coach.
Sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
But it looks like the game is going to, which is a remarkable thing considering where they were for most of the night.
And Eric Gordon's fourth quarter and overtime period, tremendous for the Rockets. They've really lacked that. In his absence, James was absolutely having to carry all of the burden. And I think he carried it very well, quite frankly. And I was saying earlier, I don't know that he can get tired. The ease with which he gets that step-back 3 up, it almost doesn't matter who contests, how good the contest is. He creates just enough space, and he's got such balance and rhythm with that shot. It looks like it's completely effortless.
This is a huge win for them because with Capella, with Chris Paul being out, the fact that they could come back from being down the way they were and win this one, take this game home, put it in the W column, that's huge for them.
Yeah, and the Rockets just 3-4 over their last 7 games. You know, the context of this is they're trying to survive with all these injuries. Capella's out and Chris Paul is out. And they've got guys on 10-day contracts playing. You don't normally see 10-day guys play for teams that are considered contenders when the season begins at this point in the season. But they're just finding bodies and putting people in place.
And because Daniel House's 2-way contract, his days with the varsity were up on that contract, and he did not agree to a new deal. He wanted a longer, better deal. And Houston couldn't come to an agreement. They're going to have to bring in another G League player to represent what Daniel was giving them. But Daniel played very well during that stretch. Without Gordon, without Chris Paul, they were still winning, and Daniel was a big contributor to that.
Is Fareed coming in to join this team? Is that
is the report,
the report that Kenneth Fareed will go from Brooklyn
buy out in Brooklyn and land on the Houston roster, where presumably he'll take up Clint Capella's minutes until Capella gets back. But it'll be interesting to see what he has. We've barely seen Fareed play over the last couple of seasons, maybe longer than that now, hardly at all with the Brooklyn Nets. You're talking about one of the most active players in the league on the boards, on the offensive boards when he was at his best, but we just haven't seen much of him lately.
Well, and Coach, you've seen this happen, I'm sure, very often. When a player comes back from injury or he's missed a great deal of time, initially when he gets to a new team, there's going to be that burst of adrenaline. He'll play really well, but eventually you get to the point where you can only do so much in aggregate. It'll be interesting to see how much Fareed has in the tank.
It's a final now in Houston, 138-134. The Rockets get the comeback win after trailing by as many as 21. James Harden's 50-point streak comes to an end, but he settles for 48. And over his last 22 games or so, he has averaged more than 40 points a game. It's a remarkable thing. He also scores his 19th straight game of at least 30 points or more, if that does anything for you. Here he is with Lisa Salters afterwards. So James Harden, with his 163 points over the last 3 games, has the fourth most in a 3-game stretch since the NBA merger, which happened in the 1976-77 season. 163. Kobe Bryant, a couple of stretches bigger. Michael Jordan with 165 back in 1990. And with every passing game, guys, he just keeps adding his name to these lists.
You see what I said? He's not even straining. Look at the image of James. He's the only one who doesn't have his mouth open in some sort of exerting way.
MJ's got
it's
the tongue
too
out.
easy for
Kobe
James.
looks very intense, and Harden looks like he's headed to the grocery store.
I'm not convinced he even sweats, Coach.
All kind of, interestingly, all kind of similar size players that have that number of points in those games. Wow.
I guess we can have this discussion again because we've talked about it, but doesn't this take a toll on a player? I mean, I feel like we saw 2 years ago where he ran out of steam in the playoffs. Maybe that was a result of the season behind him. Maybe it was just the series. Maybe it was the finality of it weighing on him. I don't know. But it seems like the kind of usage rates we're seeing, the responsibilities, the mental toll as well as the physical toll has got to catch up with him sooner or later.
The coach understands that you have to do what you have to do. And Mike D'Antoni obviously knows that for them to have any chance of winning, he has to be on the floor a significant amount of minutes. But then we see what happened to LeBron. Is that an accumulation of the minutes and the years piling up on him? Is that why finally, his body has a serious injury? And you would think that James Harden, each night he's going out there putting 40-plus minutes on the floor to get them or try to get them another win is adding up on that body.
It's fascinating because James glides out there. He plays at his own pace. He's not somebody who ever looks terribly frenetic. LeBron is somebody who can be a freight train in full court, and you see him exerting incredible effort to run down the floor. Now, he's an amazing athlete in his own right, but the work rate and the toll it takes on his body to be almost 6'9", 265, 270 pounds is different than the way James plays, with James taking step backs that he just sort of slides into and saunters from side to side with. He's really not exerting all that much energy. I mean, you saw him do the post-game interview. There was not a bead of sweat on that man. It is remarkable. He has found a way to measure himself throughout a game, still made key defensive plays tonight as well.
It's an amazing stretch we're seeing right now from James Harden. Houston gets the win tonight in overtime, 138-130.
Games, let's say it one more time. He's averaging 40 over the last 21. That last loss against the Nets, Harden scored 58. He scored at least 30 in 18 straight games. He'll look to continue that streak against the Lakers tonight at 8. What's been most impressive about what he's doing?
I think being in shape. People say, that sounds too easy. Well, you have to, and Boozer, you know this, you have to be in a certain kind of shape to put these kind of numbers up every night. I remember Tracy McGrady said it one day with Paul George, when you become that next level superstar, your legs have to be in a certain type of condition because you have to do it every night. It was like we were teasing about Kuzma. He got to 42 and then kind of fell off for a couple games and he got back hot again. he was like, wow, it is hard to get 42 every night. So now when you watch James Harden do it, you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
After coming back from an injury this season to get his legs back in his condition to perform the way he is.
And what's even more impressive to me is that, think about it, he's the #1 thing on the paper when you're trying to stop the Houston Rockets.
Right.
And he's still putting up these kind of numbers. It's very impressive what he's doing.
Well, Mike D'Antoni says Chris Paul will return sometime next week. This week, the Rockets also lost Clint Capella 4 to 6 weeks following thumb surgery. So how much of these injuries are starting to mount up for this team that makes Harden's run even more ridiculous when you're considering he's not getting help from other guys?
Yeah, he's carrying the load, man. I mean, obviously with CP being out, that hurts a lot. Capella being out, especially with rebounding and someone that dives to the hoop, gets the easy lobs and alley-oop dunks. It makes James Harden job that much more harder, but he's doing it. He's performing, he's carrying that team, he's getting some help from Eric Gordon. You know, Gerald Green's playing very well. Other guys can step up as well, but it's pretty much all on James Harden's shoulders.
Yeah, defensively it's going to be interesting to see how they play good team defense without Capella. Offensively, James has proven he can hold down the fort till Chris Paul gets healthy. But now with Capella, who's going to be that rim protector? Who's going to get those big rebounds he was showing us this season?
Well, that's an interesting question because according to multiple reports, Kenneth Faried is that guy. Now, here's a thing that's just concerning about him. He's played 44 games over the last 2 years, and he's not hurt. Why is that?
Because he hasn't been in Brooklyn's rotation, or should I say plan. He wasn't in Denver's plan. Once Jokic and Nurkic came on, we talked about in the meeting, he had just got that big contract. He said he saw the writing on the wall. He gets to Brooklyn, Kenny Atkinson said he's just not a part of the rotation, so that's what happened. But I will give him credit. He hasn't complained. He hasn't been a bad apple in the locker room. He's been going about his business. Now he's about to get bought out and possibly, go to Houston to all the conversation. If that happens, he will bring energy. That's how he made his name in this NBA, of running the floor, getting loose balls, rebounding, setting good screens, and rolling to the basket.
And speaking of situations, you're a guy that understands it depends as a big what your situation is. For him to play with a guy like James Harden, look, he's averaged 13 points in his career. He's averaged 9 rebounds in a season in his career. Can he get back to that form? He's still just 29.
Well, Houston's going to hope he does. He's very young. He's very fresh. He doesn't have a lot of miles on his legs right now. And the hope for Faried is, like 3D said, he brings energy. There's always room for a guy that brings energy and effort. And if he can continue to run the floor hard, set good screens, roll to the hoop for alley-oops, play good defense, rebound the basketball, he can help that team out.
Keeping with our theme of teams missing their key players, there's none bigger than one LeBron James for the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Well, they come into tonight against Houston riding a 2-game win streak. The Lakers actually 5-7 overall without LeBron now. That includes wins in 4 of their last 6. Of the young Lakers who seemingly are growing through this experience over the past couple of games, who's growing the most to you?
Kyle Kuzma has been cooking. You look at his numbers throughout the stretch, 26 points, 7 rebounds, playing very well. Me and 3D talked about it last night with you, Chris. He plays downhill. He's a runner. He takes advantage of his opportunities. He shoots the ball from a pretty solid clip from the three-point line. He makes his free throws, and he's getting more consistent. And that's the big thing for me with him, because he can pick and pop. He can roll to the hoop. On defense, he can play the 2, 3 to 4, sometimes the 5, depending on who he's going against. So for him in his second year to be averaging 19 points and doing what he's doing, trying to hold that fort down offensively, doing a great job.
I think for that OKC game was Alonzo Ball for me, and to hear him say that I'm playing with more confidence, I'm playing more aggressive now that LeBron's down on the floor. He's used to having the ball in his hand, so I'm saying to myself, guys, if Alonzo can play with this type of aggression and this type of focus and this type of confidence when LeBron comes back, then LeBron can say, okay, maybe I can take this quarter off because I know Zoe's going to do all the right things to keep things going. If I come out the game, we're up 10, I come back in, we're up 14 because Zoe is playing confident basketball. That's what I like when I saw that OKC game.
All right, focusing on this matchup, the Lakers have also lost to the Rockets twice, and that's with LeBron, and that's by an average of 12 points. All right, and James Harden scored 50 the last time these two teams went head-to-head. Can we expect the Lakers to be able to compete in this one? Chris Paul out, Clint Capella out, that's different. But can they compete against James Harden, the bearded one, the way that they're currently constructed without LeBron on the court?
Well, I think what Luke Walton will try to do is to tap in what we saw in the OKC game the other night. The question is, when James Harden gets cooking, does your enthusiasm get taken out of you because now how do you slow him down? You know, on the flip side is you have to get some stops to get some easy offense to get your confidence going on the offensive side of the ball.
I think something else I like that they did the other game was where they had Ingram playing the point, almost like
Yes.
a point forward.
Yes.
That helps them offensively, get guys involved, make plays for each other. So we'll probably see more of that tonight.
LeBron will be cleared to practice next week. Lakers have Golden State on Monday, Timberwolves on Thursday, the Suns on Sunday. When you look at those games and you think of LeBron coming back, when do you foresee him being able to get back on the court if he's just now starting to practice on Monday?
Knowing LeBron, Booz, you've been around him before. If LeBron really wanted to play, I think tomorrow, if we had to, he would. But I think there's being smart just to make sure. So a practice or two, and if Brian said he's ready, then he'll be back on the floor.
Yeah, LeBron's done a great job with his body. As you guys know, he barely ever misses any games, as we've seen throughout his career. I'll leave it up to him. You know, I think if I'm one of his teammates, he knows his body better than anybody else at this stage in his career, does a good job of taking care of it, works out every day. And when he's ready, he'll be back out there. And when he does get back out there, the wins will start going like this. Yeah.
And if you go this, right, because the Lakers in the standings, they were doing this before their recent win streak, winning 4 of their last 6. Does that take the pressure off LeBron to come back when, okay, the young guys are handling this right now, they're staying afloat, they've won 4 of 6, as opposed to, oh, wow, we're falling, we're almost out of the playoff picture in the Western Conference?
I think it's the other way around, where when things were struggling, it might have been some pressure to maybe I come back a little sooner. They win a couple. And now I want to get back now while they're playing well to feed off the good confidence and the good play. Versus they're struggling, it's like, LeBron, come save us. No, now we found our stride. Now we found our confidence. Now come back to your point. Now let's really ride this wave and go that way. I think he's looking at it that way.
Yeah, I agree 100% because now these guys have stepped up. Kuzma's playing better. You know, Lonzo Ball's playing better. Ingram's being a playmaker and doing more things. Then you bring LeBron, who's an MVP candidate, back into the fold and gives them a chance to get even more boosted, hopefully climb a little bit up in this Western Conference standings.
That makes a lot of sense. It'll be interesting to see how the Lakers perform tonight against the Houston Rockets and how they look when LeBron James comes back. Certainly something to be excited about. Russell Westbrook in